About 2 years ago, I got to try the Samsung Smart Tag Plus. And my experience using that was pretty good. I had both a wallet with provisions for it, as well as I just threw it in my checked baggage when I made a trip back to America. My experience using this outside of America was pretty good because a lot of people internationally use Samsung. When I got to Japan on my international flight, the coverage got worse because a lot of Japan uses iPhones. And when I got to America, my coverage again was pretty bad because in America, Samsung, although it is a big kind of industry leader in regards to smartphones, a ton of people do use iPhone as well. When Google introduced when Google announced, I should say, that they were going to be introducing their new Find My device network and they were going to be turning it on to all Android devices, I knew that I had to get a compatible device to try using these devices here in Vietnam, where the majority of people are using an Android device, and thus, theoretically, the coverage for the Find My device network should be pretty good. Now, I have been using Pebblebee and Chipolo products, and when you get both of those respective products, you have the option of whether or not you want to use them with the Pebblebee network or the Chipolo network for their selective, obviously, options. Now, using both of these networks in America might be a decent option, but here in Vietnam, I doubt many people are buying Pebblebee trackers. I doubt that many people are buying Chipolo trackers. So using the Google standard Find My device network is going to be the one that gets me the best coverage. Obviously, your coverage may vary. In the time I've been using these, I have put them in both of my checked bags for my trip back to Vietnam. I have one on my motorcycle, which I park in the basement of my building, and I use my motorcycle every day to go places here in Hanoi. And so I'm gonna base some of my experience and in regards to coverage of those things on what that experience has been like using it on my motorbike. I also slip these into my camera bags if I have to go to a shoot where I might be separated from them, but that has been few and far between. Mostly my experience has come from putting it on my motorbike and parking it in huge parking lots where there's tons of people constantly coming in and out. Overall, after over a month of usage, I have found that the updates to the network come every 10 minutes or so, kind of independent on crowd density. Maybe that's just how Google updates the network or how quickly things get updated, but I have checked time and time again to see how quickly things are getting updated, and usually it's every 10 minutes. I find that that is definitely worse than what Samsung has done and definitely worse than what Apple has done. Another thing that we have to talk about is coverage, because theoretically, we should have phenomenal coverage here in Vietnam where the overwhelming majority of people use Android devices. They plug them in overnight, meaning all of the apps are getting updated every night while they're on the charger. And that includes things like Google Play services, which would also include the Find My device network. Unfortunately, here is where things kind of break down because the overall Find My network has been okay. My expectation is that because I live in a country where the majority of people use Android devices, my coverage on them should be excellent. It should be like equivalent to what Apple does. But unfortunately, because of the factory defaults and the way Google has the Find My device network set up, your device is only relaying information of trackers like this if it is in a high density or highly trafficked area around a bunch of other devices. Google does not specify what they would consider to be a high density area. It could be 2 Android devices, 3 Android devices, 4 Android devices. I'm not sure. But because of that, when I park my bike, let's say in the basement of my building, along with a bunch of other motorbikes with people constantly coming in and out using Android devices, I find that my coverage is okay, and I get updates every 10 to 12 minutes or so, which I am a little disappointed about because I would hope that the coverage would be a little bit better. Another thing is that neither of these trackers have ultra wideband support, and even if they did, you would likely have to use the proprietary app, which means that you're stuck using those networks. Let me repeat that. When you get either Chipolo or Pebblebee trackers and you set them up, you have the option to use them with the Pebblebee or Chipolo app, which might give you other features such as being able to use the camera and ultra wideband if these devices were equipped with it, to go ahead and locate your device using your camera. What we currently have in Google's Find My device network is a very rudimentary app where you can go ahead and ring both of these devices where they will make a sound. This one has some flashing lights on it, and I'll go ahead and I'll demonstrate for that for you guys right now. But I really feel like there's a lot left to be desired, and I am testing this in a place where we have high density or relatively high density of Android devices, and just overall, we should be getting updates on these all the time. Here, I'll play a sound for you guys so you can hear what these things sound like. And as you can see, play sound. Here is the flash of it. It flashes, and this is very close to my mic. So the sound is all right. It's relatively loud. You do get a battery percentage here on the app of both of these Pebblebee trackers. All Pebblebee trackers are rechargeable, and with the Pebblebee wallet tracker, you get a proprietary Pebblebee USB to Pebblebee charger. Here, I'll play the Pebblebee card sound for you. This one seems to be a bit louder. And when it's flashing, or when it's playing the sound, you do get the lights. Now, one thing that I do want to add is that when I'm looking at this on a map, and I'm not going to show the map right now because it shows a rough location to what my house is, you have a very large area where the device could be. It could be because this device isn't that accurate, but in general, I found the accuracy on these to depend on what your satellite coverage is, obviously, because that's how they are located. Overall, though, I spent about $100 on these trackers, and would I suggest for you to buy them as well? At this moment in time, neither Chipolo nor Pebblebee have devices that are equipped with ultra wideband. The fact that the Google Find My device network is still very, very rudimentary and still very, very rough around the edges makes it kind of difficult for me to recommend these wholeheartedly. That said, if you're someone like me where you live in a country that is predominantly Android, you are going to get significantly better coverage. I wish that Google would just flip the switch so that everyone's devices would default to being able to relay location information even in low trafficked areas. But until Google changes those defaults, we're going to be left up to the Google God, which decides what is a high density or highly trafficked area and what isn't a high density or highly trafficked area, which means that ultimately this would not be a great way to necessarily track a bag or a backpack if it gets stolen somewhere, simply because once that person is out of a highly trafficked area, you are not going to be getting updates to it, which in my opinion kind of defeats the purpose of putting a tracker on your devices if you are trying to avoid theft. Hopefully this video was useful. If it was, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I'll leave links to where you can buy these down below. They are affiliate links. It does help me out. And until next time, guys, it's been Mitchell. Peace.